And here's my spoiler-filled movie review of the latest from Marvel, Doctor Strange. Today is October 26th, 2017. The movie just opened here in Manila. Saw it with Alex and my wife. We had a great time. It was a fantastic movie. Just wonderful. So again, I'm going to have spoilers. Spoiler alert, you have an opportunity to close this video and watch it at another time. But if you want to hear some of the spoilers, then listen on and watch on. As with most of my movie reviews, I will be all over the place with this review. It's going to be long, longish, dragging and all that. So bust out the chips, popcorn, and dip. Bring out your beer and whatever you need to drink, juice box, milk carton, whatever. And just enjoy. Okay, it's a great, great movie. A wonderful. You can already see I'm biased with Marvel, but no, seriously speaking, this was a very difficult dimension, pun intended, of the Marvel universe to showcase in a full-length feature movie, and Doctor Strange is not one of the more popular characters in the Marvel universe. He's like, it's like Harry Potter evolved or upgraded 100-fold, and if Harry Potter became a superhero, something like that. That's my cut and dry, short, easy way of explaining it to my wife, because my wife after the movie said she loved the movie, but she said, she was expecting more of something like another Avengers film or like an Iron Man film. I was like, not all Marvel movies are going to be like the Avengers or something like that. Just imagine if Harry Potter became a superhero 100-fold and he'd be Doctor Strange. So that was a dirty way, short and dirty way of doing it. But yeah, this is the magical realm, the realm of the paranormal, the realm of the astral, the mystic, the unseen world, where, as explained in the trailer, Wong says that the Avengers protect the physical world, while the supernatural and mystic planes and world are threats from the supernatural or mystic realms. The sorcerers protect them. Okay, let's talk about the superficial. It's basic plot, basic story. It's an origin story, how he became God. He's very faithful to the comic books. He's a pompous, just arrogant doctor, top of his game. He ruins his hands because of some freak accident with his Lamborghini, whatever. And he can't fix it. So he finds somebody who was fixed, like an impossible solution. Like his spine was severed several. It's impossible for him to even be walking, and he found a way to walk. So he shows Doctor Strange the way to go there, and he says, it costs a lot, but not with money. It costs more than that, maybe your soul, your spirit. And I was thinking, okay, we're going to see the soul gem. Okay, great. But it turns out we don't. Well, I'll talk about that later. So he goes there, gets to see the Ancient One. The Ancient One, I'll talk about that a little bit further. But the Ancient One is played by Tilda Swinton. Great. He meets Carl Mordo, who introduces him to the Ancient One. And he becomes, just like the comic books, he practices, he learns. He was skeptical at first, blah, 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 blah. And then he learns. Essentially, he forgets everything he's been taught. He becomes a master sorcerer in that short span of time. And then the bad guy comes, because the bad guy, played by Mads Mikkelsen, his name is Caecilius, was a former student of the Ancient One, discovered there was another world called the Dark Dimension, where the Earth can become immortal. Everybody on Earth can live on forever in the Dark Dimension. I don't know why anybody would want to live forever in the Dark Dimension, but that was what he was thinking, and he wanted to summon the Dark Dimension by destroying all the three sanctums of Earth, protecting the Earth. Bring the Dormammu, the ruler of the dark dimension, and swallow the Earth and make the Earth part of the Dark Dimension, and hence they'll live forever, if that's his preferred way of immortality, which everybody knows, like, you want to live forever in hell, something like that. So he does. They fight him. It's a long series of battles. The Ancient One dies, as just like in the comic books. He doesn't really become the next Sorcerer Supreme. The Ancient One was a Sorcerer Supreme at that time, but he doesn't immediately take the mantle. By the end of the movie, you figure that he's going to be the next in line. So they do find a way to defeat Caecilius and the Dormammu in the Dark Dimension, prevent the Earth from being eaten up in the dark dimension, and he does that through the eye of Agamotto and some of his wits. He finds a way to. We'll talk about that later. He sort of, the whole idea is he loses himself, so he loses all his training, he forgets what everything. Then for him to gain more knowledge and become the Sorcerer Supreme, and he becomes a superhero by losing himself. His ultimate sacrifice, forgetting himself, forgetting it's all about himself, as what the Ancient One tells him, you forget the most simplest thing. It's not about you. Much like Iron Man, much like Thor, Iron Man decides that he was going to be something better. That's how he becomes a superhero. Thor, to become worthy of the hammer, he denies himself and he sacrifices himself. And the same thing with him. In a way, he does sacrifice himself. What he does is, it was revealed that the Eye of Agamotto is an Infinity Stone. It is the Time Gem. And the Time Gem works. He was able to use the Eye of Agamotto to it's like if you have a DVD player or one of the facets that was shown, just one of them, I'm sure one of the many things that the Eye of Agamotto can do, but he was practicing a spell, and what he did was he learned one spell from the Eye of Agamotto, and that's, well, one or two, but one major spell, which was to disrupt the space-time continuum, which was really just using, like, imagine the whole of time is like a DVD player or a Blu-ray player, and you had a knob. Rewind, fast forward, rewind, fast forward. He was doing that to an apple being eaten up, rotting, and being back whole. He was doing that, and that's essentially how he defeats Dormammu in the Dark Dimension. The final battle, it's too late. There are three sanctums. The London sanctum was destroyed by Caecilius. The New York sanctum, which eventually becomes his sanctum sanctorum, was destroyed, was attacked. And finally, when they get to Hong Kong's been destroyed, the sanctum has been destroyed, and the dark dimension is encroaching upon Earth. And what he does is he goes to the dark dimension, because Caecilius says, let's be eaten up by the dark dimension because there's no time there. You will live forever. It's not bound by time. And he figures out the only way to beat something that's not bound by time is to introduce time to it. Much like how Doctor Doom, I think, defeated the Beyonders in Secret Wars 3, I think. The latest Secret Wars. He introduced the element of time, of moving back and forth through time. To the Beyonders, and that's how he defeated him. And the same thing happens here. Doctor Strange introduces the concept of a time loop, some event that keeps going on and on with Dormammu. He decides, Dormammu, I'm going to show you time, and then he keeps going back. Dormammu kills him, he keeps coming back, and the same, Dormammu, I want a bargain. Dormammu kills him, and he comes back again. It's like a loop. And he was willing to sacrifice himself, saying, you can kill me over and over for the rest of eternity, at least you won't get the Earth. Self-sacrifice, again, a recurring theme in most Marvel Disney films, and that's why he becomes a superhero. Eventually, Dormammu agrees to his bargain to leave the Earth, because apparently Dormammu can't stand the concept of time. A little bit ridiculous if you're a big fan of Dormammu, because that's not who he is. But anyway, that's how they made him to be. And he says, okay, fine, I'm going to attack the Earth. And he says, take your zealots with you, like Caecilius and the rest of the guys, with you to the Dark Dimension and never come back to Earth. Otherwise, I'll bring back time. Which was, I thought it worked. Okay? And that's the entire plot. So it's great. It's wonderful. I thought it was a great superhero story, in the sense that, it's a different kind of superhero. It's a mystical realm, and they introduce it very nicely. They introduce this whole new world of Doctor Strange, the paranormal, the supernatural, I should say, or the mystical realm, and he defeats the big bad guy convincingly, and he becomes a superhero because he denies himself. So that's essentially it. Music was fantastic. It gets you so much in the mood. And I like the special effects. Let's talk about special effects. Wow. Kevin Feige was right. They had the technology to bring to life what Steve Ditko and Stan Lee tried to do back in the 70s and the 80s. Of Doctor Strange, and oh wow, it's a feast for the eyes, and it's not annoying. What I liked about it is the whole visual wasn't as dizzying as I don't know, Man of Steel, or what was that movie, Christopher Nolan movie, that you would go into your dream and how you gosh, that was so dizzying. Anyway, I forgot the name because I didn't really see that movie. But it worked. That whole idea of interdimensional travel. They travel to the mirror dimension where everything can be warped and it doesn't affect the physical plane, and it works. It sort of works. And I thought I was preparing myself to be dizzy, to be nauseous about that whole thing because I wear my glasses and to the movies, and usually I get headaches with these things, but no, apparently it works. It was a fantastic display of technology. What they were trying to do with Ant-Man, I think, when he moved into the inner space or the small subatomic space, it was much, much more detailed than that. Fantastic. It was great. And I like the fact what they did, or just a side note, what they did with Dormammu. Dormammu was like, for all intents and purposes, he was Galactus. He was going to swallow up the Earth from another dimension. His hunger could not be satiated. That's what they told him. He has a hunger that cannot be satisfied. And he was depicted as like a shadow. Like, you remember, it's like a big head, big shadowy head. So I guess if Marvel couldn't get Galactus from Fox, they decided to make their own Galactus. And yeah, it sort of works. It kind of works. Dormammu is like a big badass demon in the comic book, but here they turned him into like a space demon, or like a Galactus. So it kind of works. Okay, let's talk about the characters. Wonderfully, wonderfully played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh my god, he is perfect for Doctor Strange, and I don't care if for the rest of his life he will be known as Doctor Strange. I think that's great. Just like Robert Downey Jr. is forever known as Iron Man. I thought he did it wonderfully. Carl Mordo, man, he was badass. And for a while, at the start of the movie, I thought they'd be really friends, which is what happened in the comic books. And at the end of the movie, well, they part ways, as you would expect. In the comic books, I think he was jealous, much like it was like a Storm Shadow Snake Eyes thing. The Ancient One favored him more, and he was jealous. And that's how he turned. Something like that. I can't remember. But in the movie, he's like... It was kind of strange because he was like the Boy Scout of the sorcerers, and he came from a bad place. Like, he was like a criminal, I think, and then he was converted, and he does not like breaking rules. And he found out that the Ancient One was drawing energy from the dark dimension to extend her life, and Doctor Strange was trying to explain it to him that Doctor Strange was the one who figured it out, like just like Caecilius, that the Ancient One was lying to them. Do not draw energy from the dark dimension because it will kill you, whatever. But she was doing it to preserve her life, to extend her life. And eventually, the Ancient One explains it to him, to Doctor Strange, that there are some things you need to do. You need to bend the rules in order to save the many. And that's what they did. But Doctor Strange was one to find other answers. He thought this guy says, don't break the rules. The space-time continuum, you're messing with it by using the Eye of Agamotto, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. But he was willing to kill a few to save the many. So it's okay for Mordo to break the laws of humans, but the laws of the sorcerers, he could not break it. When he found out that Doctor Strange used the Eye of Agamotto to wreck time, he says there's going to be a reckoning for that. When he was disillusioned when the Ancient One was breaking her own rules and blah 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 blah. That's how they part ways. He was a boy. He's trying to be a Boy Scout. He's saying, I cannot be with you guys because you break rules and you're not supposed to break our rules. Whatever. That's how they part ways. But he did it wonderfully. Wong, amazing. Caecilius, Mads Mikkelsen, wow, he's a great bad guy, and amazing, just great. All the characters wonderfully played. I think they were well cast. Rachel McAdams plays the love interest, the doctor that he takes for granted when he was still the surgeon, Doctor Strange, and then he has a change of heart, reconciles with Rachel McAdams. I love Rachel McAdams. She's one of my favorite actresses. She was perfect for the role. She was sort of like the Jane Foster of Thor, and to a certain extent, that's how it is. He tries to become worthy of the magic of the Sorcerer Supreme. So, yeah, great job on that thing, and basically it's a fun ride. Now let's talk about peripherals. Uh, they use for teleportation. They use what is called a sling ring. It's like a pair of bare knuckle. It's like a bare knuckle type of artifact, like a sling ring. You put it on one hand, and then you use your other hand to draw a portal. That was cool. I thought I liked the idea of teleportation using artifacts, but I'm nitpicking. Okay, I love it. I love everything. I'm just trying to find some flaw, if something to be improved. The way they draw the portal, it's like when you have a grinder, a metal grinder, and there are sparks. It sort of looks like that. I was kind of hoping they would come up with a better way to draw portals, like a space bridge or a land bridge, like in the Transformers. But okay. There was you draw like that, like a circle to open up, and it was like sparks and all that. A little bit cheesy for me, but it's fine. I'm nitpicking, okay? Nitpicking. So, yeah. Oh, incidentally, the characters, the cape was fantastic. Oh man, it was great, and I wish they would have made a better cape for the action figure, like a bigger one, like the comic version. Also, he did not use a staff; he used another weapon. It was like like a scepter, like this, extended, whatever. I wish it was more accurate. I wish they had given him more accessories. I wish they would have given this guy a cloak and a hood. That would have been super badass for that guy. Whoa, okay. Another thing I noticed about the movie, great music. They had so much humor in the movie. You know what? I was going to Doctor Strange movie. I thought this was going to be a serious film. And I thought it was impossible to interject humor in this movie. And they did it. It was Alex was laughing in the middle of the movie, throughout the movie. I mean, it wasn't funny all the time, but there were parts where it got serious, and just like traditional Marvel, they would interject these small, funny stuff about a quip from him, a situation that was really funny, and I thought Marvel did a wonderful job with the humor on this one. I thought it was very funny. Yeah, there is humor in this movie, and it's great. All right, we've gone through 17 minutes, and I guess you want to know a couple of things. Yes, the Ancient One dies. Yes, they part both ways. Yes, he defeats Dormammu, but not kills Dormammu. He just sends him away. Yes, this is an Infinity Stone. It is the Time Gem. It's even Wong says it's an Infinity Stone in the end. Yes, he takes over the New York Sanctum. The Hong Kong is rebuilt. London, I guess, is rebuilt, and I don't know. I'm not sure about London, but he takes over New York, Sanctum Sanctorum, and that's his base. End credit scenes. Yes, there are two end credit scenes. The first one is after the main credits. Like it's like 9 years of Marvel movies, and once the first end credits comes up, I see like a third of the movie theater walking, 1/4 of the movie theater just walking. I'm like, guys, it's a Marvel film. Okay, so 3/4 of the movie goers, they stay, and we see the first end credits after the main credits. The first end credit scene is it's him. The camera's on him. It says, "You want tea?" And you hear the voice of Thor. And he says, "No, I don't." Then they pan out and they show Thor. Thor in his civilian attire, his like street clothes. He says, "I don't like tea." And then his cup becomes like a mug of beer or ale, whatever, that keeps refilling every time he fills it up. And he asks Thor, "So I've been keeping track of beings from other dimensions that might be threatened. Your brother Loki, he's a big threat. So why are you guys here?" And Thor says, "We're looking for my dad, for my father." And he says, if you find your father, then you'll go away, right? Loki will go away. Thor says, "Yep, that's what we want to do." And he says, "Great, I'm gonna help you." And that ends it. And I guess that's the segue into Thor Ragnarok, which we've seen shots of them in Bleecker Street. We knew Doctor Strange was going to be part of Thor Ragnarok in some way or another, and this is it. This is a great way to introduce Thor Ragnarok, Thor 3, and he's going to be a part of it. I'm so happy. And then after that scene, like, I don't know, another 1/4 or 1/3 of the moviegoers, they step out of the movie. I'm like, dude, it's like a Marvel film. There's always two. Like 1/4 of the moviegoers, they stay behind, and it's great because I was right. There was a second end credit scene, and this time it's Baron Mordo. He tracks down the guy who he talked, who was able to start walking even with a spinal injury. And he says, he attacks the guy and he says, "You've been stealing magic, and the reason you're walking is because you have magic which you shouldn't have." And the guy goes, "What?" Played by Benjamin Bratt. And then Brandon says, "Why are you doing this?" And he says, "I know what's wrong with this world. There's just too many sorcerers." And he sucks out the magic that's keeping him walking and not paralyzed. And he says, "There's too many sorcerers in this world," and that ends it. And that's, I think, the segue for Doctor Strange 2, which again you'd predict he'd be the bad guy because that's how it was in the comic books. Mordo became the bad guy, and I think he's going to be his perverted version of a Boy Scout, of not tampering with magic and all that, getting rid of all the other sorcerers so that there'd be balance there and whatnot. So again, it was a fun ride. 10 out of 10 for me. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful film. And, my review wouldn't be complete without a little bit of a DC bashing, DC movies bashing. I'm not going to just bash DC just for the heck of it. I'm going to try to keep it constructive. The reason Marvel and Disney are very successful is because they got a story to tell. And the characters are full of depth and dimension. And it's selflessness. That's, I think, the main characteristic of a superhero. And I think that's what DC's missing. They tried to do it with Suicide Squad, but they overdid it. They were desperate. They were trying to make something great, trying to beat Marvel. I think the DC universe is filled with deep characters. I'm a big fan of Batman, big fan of Wonder Woman. Not geek fan, okay? I'm like a baseline fan. I love Batman, I love Wonder Woman, but I don't read up on every single comic books. If there were two characters I would love in the DC franchise, it's Batman and Wonder Woman. I have my reasons for liking them, So I don't hate DC per se, but I wish they would stop trying too hard. And it's nice that Ben Affleck is on board, Jeff Johns is on board. It's the depth of character and the storytelling that makes a great superhero movie. Okay, enough said. There's a great Stan Lee cameo when they were in the Mirror universe and they slammed into a bus, and the bus, Stan Lee was the passenger there. He was reading a book and he's oblivious obviously to what was going on. It was very, very fun. So there you go, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this little movie review. If you love it, if you like this review, don't forget to subscribe and share this review. And I'll see you on the next movie review, which is hopefully be Star Wars. We'll see. Thanks for watching.